Hi everyone, welcome to Synerga TV with me, Rich Gibbons, and today we are looking at Microsoft's financial results for the FY 2025, which finished at the end of June. So we finally got the numbers are out. We can look at how well they've done. Spoiler alert, they've done very well. The numbers are massive. They're even bigger than last time. But what can that tell us? What can we learn from it? As you know, I always think that these are quite important when it comes to understanding the publishers that you're working with, how you're going to negotiate with them, work with them over the course of your agreement. So altogether, for FY 2025, Microsoft's revenue was $281.7 billion, 15% increase. And net income was 101.8 billion, which was up 16%. So big numbers, double-digit increase over last year. Of that, so let's call it 282 billion. What they call Microsoft Cloud, which is an amalgamation of various different cloud elements, that was up 23% to 108 billion. Which makes it almost 40% of Microsoft's overall revenue comes under Microsoft Cloud now. For Q4, which, as you would expect, is always the biggest quarter because of people signing deals coming up to the end of the FY. Revenue was 76.4 billion for the quarter, and Microsoft Cloud was almost 47 billion there. Which meant it was 61% of Q4 revenue. So lots of cloud deals signed in Q4. Azure up 39%. This continues a trend for Azure where it's growing more and more each quarter. A few years ago, it was 50+% growth each quarter. And then it started dropping and it got down to about 30%, 29% possibly. But for the last, I think, top of my head, 4 or 5 quarters, so going back up. And now it's at 39% growth year on year. So Azure was over 75 billion for that financial year. So you're just absolutely huge numbers, whichever way you look. Double-digit growth in most areas, Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, and so on. So the numbers tell us one thing, which is Microsoft are doing very well. But I think the bits that Satya Nadella calls out in the earnings calls, they are also very interesting. So he started off by saying that cloud and AI is the driving force of business transformation across every industry and sector. So kind of no ifs, ands, or buts there. It's cloud and AI across the board. And he also said that every Azure region is now AI first. So very much, it's not a surprise that AI is the way that Microsoft are going, but there it is in black and white. And in the earnings calls as well, Satya Nadella was talking about the number of new data centers that Microsoft have opened. They've got more than any other hyperscaler by their metrics. So big focus on the physical data centers to drive the cloud and the AI software. Other bits in the earnings calls. So Nadella said that Microsoft Fabric, which is their kind of data cloud product, the successor to Power BI Premium Capacity, but also on a wider scale, that is 55% up year on year in terms of revenue, over 25,000 customers. Whether that's, I assume that's paying customers, but it might be including trial customers and things as well. Fabric, real focus for Microsoft, something that I'm talking to a lot of people about, both on the ITAM side and the FinOps side. It really bridges that gap, perfect kind of convergence opportunity where some of it is more traditional licensing, some of it is kind of cloud-based consumption. lots of interesting things, lots of potential for out of control spend, but Fabric, big focus. And kind of tied into that, Nadella said that Azure Databricks and Snowflake on Azure have both been accelerating, really for similar reasons as Fabric. AI is nothing without data. So organizations, as they're adopting AI, as your organizations are adopting AI, you need data. You need it to be accessible. You need it to be all in one place. You can't have siloed data. Your AI needs to be able to look across the board. So these data clouds like Fabric, Databricks, Snowflake, they are seeing huge growth as well because of AI. So that would be partly the reason for that. Also talked about the amount of users that they have for Copilot and AI features. These I found interesting. So he talked about Copilot app usage across commercial and consumer. It's always interesting when publishers put those two things together. To me, it suggests that consumer is maybe the stronger of those two. 100 million monthly active users in that regard. And then 800 million when you look at AI features across Microsoft's product stack. 800 million a month, that's a huge number. But again, what is an AI feature? Probably PowerPoint Designer, Teams transcription, things like that. Great features, but they were around before Copilot, before the kind of AI boom. Would I class them as part of the AI drive? I don't know. They also pointed out, as they have done for the last, 4 or 5 quarters, I think, that there was an increase in the number of $10 million and $100 million contracts for Azure and Microsoft 365 that were signed, which so bears out the messaging that we're seeing that Microsoft are pushing for longer commits from organizations, bigger contracts. Yes, you'll get lower pricing probably, but longer commits. So that's been borne out in the earnings calls. ARPU, the average revenue per user, up again, being driven by Microsoft 365 E5 and Copilot. Amy Hood, the CFO, said that these primarily coming through the SMB business and frontline worker SKUs. So rather than, when they say E5, a lot of that will be the kind of the F5 SKUs and the E5 compliance SKUs and things like that as well. So all those, Copilot, E5, things that you would expect to hear, lots of that being called out. So in many ways, it's business as usual. It's AI, it's Copilot, it's big numbers. But I think as customers, as clients of Microsoft, all this money that they're earning, comes from you, from us. So do take a look at what you can do to reduce that spend. Do you need E5? Do you need all those project licenses? Could your Azure environment be right-sized? Are you paying for Copilot but not using it? And then as we look further forwards, agents and agentic AI, consumption billing, outcome-based metrics, lots of these new things, it's harder to forecast, it's harder to track. So being aware of where Microsoft are going will help you, keep those costs and things under control. As always, I'm always happy to talk. So, do give me a shout if you've got any questions. But that is a relatively quick overview of Microsoft's FY25. Give me a shout if you've got any questions. Hope you found it useful, and I will speak to you again soon. Cheers.